Good afternoon, this is the 12 o'clock news.
Today's headlines are: has the accessibility of nature changed, and is this having an effect on the environment? Do ducks have romantic relationships?
Firstly, on today's show, we will be looking at the accessibility to nature in different types of settlements across the UK and its subsequent effects on the environment and landscape. In order to find out more about the accessibility of nature in larger towns and cities, we sent our Wiltshire correspondent Jim to Swindon Old Town. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm here in Swindon's Old Town at a nature park named The Lawns.
The Lawns Gardens in Swindon was once owned by the Goddards family. Historically, accessibility for the public was impossible as the land was deemed private property. However, in 1952, Goddard House was demolished and the park was opened to the public.
How easy is it to access nature as a resident of Swindon?
Very easy. There's parks all around Swindon, plenty of green spaces, and all of it's accessible.
Is the ability to access nature better now than it was in the past?
Definitely. There's much more access to these sort of places now than there used to be.
Cases such as that of the Lawns show that opening up access to nature for the public can be beneficial in improving green spaces, as prior to opening to the public, the lawns had much less green space.
Another site of nature easily accessible via walking from Swindon town centre is that of Town Gardens, an old quarry which has been turned into a beautiful park for residents of Swindon.
The site where Town Gardens is located is on the site of an old limestone quarry referred to as Great Quarry. However, in the 1890s, the location was converted into a public garden which opened in 1894. This case shows that in some cases, increasing access to nature can improve biodiversity and wildlife quality.
Thank you for that, Jim. However, this positive news in terms of accessibility to nature is not applicable to everywhere, such as the small town of Cirencester located on the edge of the Cotswolds, where Cirencester Park, the largest nature park in Cirencester and the Cotswolds, has recently introduced entry fees for all visitors. We sent our correspondent in Cirencester to investigate. Over to you, James.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm in Cirencester to investigate the accessibility of nature in the surrounding area and the cultural, political, historical and economic factors which affect it. Cirencester Park is the largest nature park in and around the Cotswolds, offering thousands of acres of woodland and pasture. It has been open to the public ever since 1695 and is owned by the Bathurst family, a family of lords who reside within Cirencester House. With free entry and easily accessible from Cirencester and its surrounding villages, Cirencester Park has remained a popular destination for hiking, walking and other leisure activities for over 329 years. However, since 2024, the Bathursts have introduced a fee to enter the park of £4 per person. This has raised some concerns over accessibility to the park and whether the park has been singling out lower class residents of Cirencester. The move to introduce entry fees to Cirencester Park has been controversial. Organisations such as Right to Roam protesting with a mass trespass event only a few days after to enter the park.
According to The Telegraph, over 500 members of the public attended the Right to Roam protest held on the 17th of March at Cirencester Park. The introduction of entry fees for Cirencester Park was a big deal for many residents, as the Cotswolds itself is a relatively inaccessible landscape with only 1.2% of land being access land, according to The Guardian. The introduction of entry fees removed over 3,000 acres of freely accessible land. Many protesters argued that the Bathursts had no right to introduce entry fees for their land, as the land had been brought with wealth that they had gained from the slave trade during the 17th century. Furthermore, the Bathursts had been receiving government funding and local council funding to keep the park maintained. Many believe that the Bathursts were also excluding people on lower incomes from nature. However, I discovered during my research that not all residents of Cirencester were opposed to the introduction of entry fees to Cirencester Park.
What do you think about the decision to begin charging entry fees for Cirencester Park?
I understand it entirely. I think if you look at other comparable places like West of Burnt Arboretum, they charge far more. If this park was not in the ownership of the Bathurst family, I firmly believe that the land would have been sold off for houses and industrial estates, and we wouldn't be standing on the green and pleasant land now. I think they've got a massive challenge, and I think it's entirely understandable to bring in these charges.
Although many residents believe that the introduction of entry fees to Cirencester Park is limiting the public's access to nature, there are still many locations in Cirencester where the public can gain access to nature for free, such as the Abbey Grounds Park and various other suburban nature parks. Although the ease of access to nature in Cirencester is slightly reduced due to the introduction of entry fees, I would not say that it is under attack in any way, as there are still plenty of locations where the public is able to gain access to nature for free. And even Cirencester Park offers an affordable annual membership fee of £10 to residents of Cirencester.
Recent studies have shown that more people are spending more time in nature, with a study by Active Together discovering that between 2010 and 2018, the amount of adults visiting nature at least once a week had rose from 54% to 62%.
A study taken in Scotland in 2020 by NatureScot also discovered that an increase in Scottish residents had been using their access to nature, with 34% accessing nature daily, up from 22%, and 71% heading outside at least once a week, up from 59%. However, this data was collected during the COVID lockdown, so this may have manipulated the data. However, many concerns have arisen from the increase in access to nature and how this is impacting the environment, with many visitors choosing to commute by car, which often takes up a significant amount of space and has a huge impact on the environment, as natural landscapes are often destroyed for roads and car parks. The increase in usage of cars has also led to many people travelling further for nature. Nearby popular examples for each towns are the North Wessex Downs National Landscape for Swindon and Cotswolds area of outstanding beauty, as both are relatively close to each respecting town.
Do you travel to places outside of Swindon for nature?
Yes, we belong to the National Trust and we go to quite a few National Trust properties where they've got the beautiful gardens, and if we go down into Kent, we always go along the riverside in Kent.
How often do you travel outside Cirencester?
Probably about once a week.
And what is your method of transportation for that?
Public transport if I can, but it's usually car.
We nearly always use our car to get to places, but we're pretty good at walking.
The increase in the amount of people commuting out of their towns to visit nature has led to some damage occurring in natural and historical landmarks. One such example is that of the Uffington White Horse Hill in the North Wessex Downs, where much of the hill has been converted into a car park and cases of vandalism have occurred on the landmark. Further issues have also occurred in other nearby landmarks from the excessive use of cars, with more areas of nature in areas such as Avebury being demolished for car parks and roads, and car accidents causing damage to historical and environmental landmarks. Trespassers have also caused irreversible damage to historical monuments such as the artificial Silbury Chalk Hill. Although the Cotswolds, easily accessible from Cirencester, experiences huge amounts of tourism, Most of it is confined to local villages and towns, such as Bourton-on-the-Water and Byberry. This means much of the natural area experiences less consequences of mass tourism, unlike in the North Wessex Downs, and its status as an area of natural beauty has led to many initiatives for rewilding the area, such as the Glorious Cotswold Grasslands project, where land which has been opened up to the public is now being rewilded to its natural state of wildflower meadows. Furthermore, conservation efforts are also being made at Cirencester Park, with forest management and restoration projects aiming to return the park's woodland back to its original state of horse chestnut trees. In conclusion, it is evident that the accessibility of nature has improved in recent years, with those who were interviewed saying that nature was either easier to access now than it was in the past, or there was significantly more awareness about it. Furthermore, studies by various organisations such as Active Together and Nature Scot showing more people are utilising the outdoors for leisure. However, this has had both a positive and negative impact on the environment, with nature parks such as Town Gardens and the Lawns experiencing positive improvements to their landscapes, like efforts to convert lifeless environments into public green spaces, whereas places outside of towns such as the North Wessex Downs have suffered from large amounts of footfall due to tourism, leading to damage to the environment and historical landmarks, as well as changing the landscape to make it suited for the car. Areas with lower levels of footfall, such as nature reserves in the Cotswolds, seem to have a much more positive effect on the landscape, as its status as an area of outstanding natural beauty has gave it funding for rewilding projects. However, as shown in Cirencester Park, landscapes can be protected and restored while still retaining a large number of visitors through restoration and maintenance projects.
In other news, Parliament today has voted to add yet another layer of concrete to the grave of Margaret Thatcher, after claims that the screams of all the souls that she's claimed was off-putting to tourists.